Okay, so now just to get into brief introductions, as I said, my name is Madison Milanczak. I'm a part of the Social Sci Students Council as a General Events Commissioner. I'm in my second year. I'm doing a double major in political science and criminology. Angie, do you want to go next?
Hi everyone, my name is Angie Antonio and I'm a third year neuroscience student here at Western. I'm also the president of BSA, which is the Black Students Association here at Western, and the BSA is basically just a club here that provides positive experiences and events and different ways to get involved for Black students here on campus. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Giselle. I'm also from BSA. I'm the External Affairs Commissioner. I am a second year finance student with a minor in sociology.
Yes, thank you guys. And I guess I should mention as well, I'm also a part of BSA as I'm an events coordinator. Kind of hard to always mix up the two. But we're all a part of the BSA team. So I'm really excited for all of us to sort of talk. It's going to be sort of like an open discussion sort of podcast. So just listen in and hopefully you guys get something out of what we're saying. And yeah, let's just get it started. So the first sort of prompt that we have today is what do we mean by race and wellness intersecting? So wellness has a whole bunch of different elements. There's emotional, mental, physical, social, spiritual, intellectual, and finance. So in this podcast, we're basically going to be talking about wellness, but from a perspective of people of color on Western's campus, as there are many unspoken struggles that many people of color silently go through on campus. I know when I was first applying to Western and seriously considering it in grade 12, my biggest concern was coming to a school with a predominantly white campus and not being able to sort of find my people, or I've heard a lot of sort of horror stories of people not being able to like fit in or find any sort of friends. Yeah. And yeah, so also, this is why I really do love BSAs, because it was sort of like a vital element in me finding sort of my own community and people who had similar experiences to me and sort of having a safe space to turn out to. I also wanted to say that we are going to be having a whole bunch of different wellness things this month. Most of them have probably passed as this is coming out late October. But this includes our Tunnel of Wellness and many other things. So stay on the lookout for that if some are still coming up. But I think if anyone else has anything else to say.
I'll add that I actually grew up in a really small city on the border of Alberta and Saskatchewan. So that was predominantly white too. So personally for me, going to Western, I personally thought Western was very diverse. I think there's so many people here, and I was like when it came to applying to schools, I didn't even apply in Alberta or Saskatchewan because I was like, okay, I want to go to Ontario. Like, I want to make sure it's diverse. I'm tired of being the only Black girl. I'm tired of being the only person of color. So for me, honestly, I have a different experience from a lot of people, but I still have that same thing of trying to navigate like my people, find them even, because though I did think Western was more diverse, it was still hard for me to find those people who I could really be myself around. And I think for me, it was just getting involved on my floor in clubs. So specifically BSA, I got really involved in that. And first year, I was a first year rep. That's kind of how I kind of navigated my wellness too. And also using the resources that Western also provides as well in terms of their mental health services and different services on campus that they have. That was definitely a way I was able to navigate my wellness too. So yeah.
I came from the GTA region, so I came from a pretty diverse school, diverse people. Like, I was involved with so many different groups in my hometown. So when I was the only Black student to apply to Western in high school, a lot of people were laughing at me and saying like it's white Western and giving like those kind of jokes and telling me like it's just for like rich white students. And I was so nervous about coming because of that. I was like, oh my gosh, where am I going to fit in? Am I going to have to change who I am? Like, am I going to lose my Black identity when I come to Western? And then kind of like the code switching and coming back from like Western's campus and going back to Toronto. But I definitely like learned and like found people. I found the BSA, and they're such a welcoming community. And I was also very nervous about the idea of like what the Black identity is. I didn't know if I had to change as a Black person
I completely agree.
to fit in at Western, but I realize there's so many different
Yeah.
Black people or people in general that have similar qualities and characteristics as myself, that I didn't have to change at all who I was. I could come from a diverse background or a super like white neighborhood, and I felt so welcomed by the Black community at Western.
And in terms of identity as well, like, I was so weird. I literally followed BSA when I was in grade 12, like when I decided I moved to Western.
Me.
And I went on their page, who they were following, and I stalked every Black person. Because I was trying to, like, see, like, okay, what's the vibe? Like, how are they like? Like, how should I act? And, like, I found a lot of people who had YouTube channels, and I honestly tried to talk like them. Like, oh my God. So weird. But I was, like, trying so hard to pick up the lingo and everything like that. So, I think that point that you brought up, Giselle, about the different identities, like, there are so many different types of Black people, and I feel like when we're in an area when there's a majority of either white, Black, whatever you lived in, it's easy for you to place this image of what the ideal Black person or the ideal person of color should be. And coming to Western, like, I remember just being so shocked. Like, I was like, what is going on? Like, because I thought it was so weird as a Black person. I thought I was like the weird Black person, quote unquote weird one. But yeah, you meet so many different people, and like, honestly, like, yeah, it just, Western's great, and
it is.
Different clubs you join are great.
No, for sure. I definitely relate strongly to what you guys said. Like, I came from, my hometown is Scarborough, so, like, pretty diverse place, and my high school is also quite diverse. But I actually grew up in, like, my elementary school was really white, and I grew up in, like, I guess, a white neighborhood in Scarborough. So when I went to high school, the whole sense of diversity in feeling like, oh, I wasn't the odd one out, or feeling sort of ostracized, that sort of feeling went away. And that was my biggest fear with coming to Western, is that I would sort of have that sort of feeling again, that I was the odd one out. But when I came to Western, it was so much more diverse than I expected it to be. And people literally from so many different backgrounds, so many people that you can relate to. And I think this goes for any university, even besides Western. Like, when you go to university, you meet people from all over the world. You meet people with so many different backgrounds. People that, like, places you didn't even know existed. Like, it opens your mind, and, like, you hear so many different experiences that you weren't even ready for. And I think that is really the beauty of going to school, and maybe even, like, going away to school, and just really trying to interact with as many people as possible. And sort of even, like, not broadening your network per se, because that sounds very, like, businessy and, like, sort of cold, but, like, getting to know as many people as you can. We kind of jumped into this, but I was going to say we should, like, share some, like, personal, maybe friends or, like, stories of maybe some sort of troubles we've had of navigating Western as a person of color. But as we kind of established, it was mainly the thought of coming to Western that was the biggest struggle that a lot of us, like, the hurdle that we had to, like, get over. But I definitely felt like there was definitely some sort of troubles on Western's campus for sure. Like, I'm not trying to downplay that as well, but you get into your mind about certain things. I would say sometimes in certain groups or even, like, classes, there's definitely been, like, some classes that I've been in where I'm the only Black person. I'm, for sure. Only Black person, or maybe even the only person of color. And that is really intimidating. And sometimes I also struggled with feeling like I had to represent, like, the Black community, or, like, being the only Black person there. I was like, oh, I have to watch what I say. I have to be, like, sort of striving for perfection. Because, like, you can't slip up.
Oh, yeah. I definitely feel that too. For me, when I was growing up, I was definitely like that. Like, I would be thinking, like, the whole world's on my shoulders. If I do something bad, they'll think it's every Black person. Like, I was very cognizant of that. And even in my classes, like, I have a really tiny class, only 20 students in it. And I talk a lot, like, I ask a lot of questions, but I make sure, like, I ask my friend, like, does this sound stupid? Like, am I making sense what I'm saying? Because, like, I still have that mindset that if I say something stupid, they'll be like, okay, all Black people are dumb, or something like that. Like, they'll have that mindset. And it's really hard to have that burden on your shoulders. It's very hard. But at the end of the day, we have to actually realize that people really, like, okay, some people do think like that, but most of the time, and what I found is that people don't really think like that. It's more so in your head a lot of the time. Because I did mention to one of my friends, my white friends, and she was like, I didn't even notice. And I was like, oh, maybe I was doing the most for no reason, you know what I mean? So yeah, I feel like we do tend to put that burden on ourselves, but there are situations where we do have to actually be mindful of how we act, because there will be people who will make those conclusions about like our entire race.
No, I completely agree. And like the whole thing, I feel like a lot of the time, you can talk about this later in terms of like wellness, but like you definitely are your worst critic. So like I would feel like tons of times I would be speaking in class and I would stop, or I would finish and I'd be like, I sounded so stupid.
Yeah.
Everyone's going to think I'm so dumb. But then someone would later come up to me and be like, you sounded so put together, so smart, so like articulate. And I'd be like, I thought the exact opposite. But I think that also takes time to sort of get out of that mindset. You need to sort of reflect and take the time to realize not your worth, but like give yourself like a pat on the back. Don't be so hard on yourself.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, we're all trying, and we're all at Western for a reason. We're all smart people.
Yeah. And I think too, we should stop seeking validation, quote unquote validation, from external sources, because the way I was, why am I asking people if I'm smart?
Exactly.
Am I smart? Like, what? So strange. So like, it's just that seeking to, or like, do I sound stupid? Like, why are you doing that to yourself? Like, if no one was around, you wouldn't be saying that. It's because you feel like people are thinking that way about you. But if that's not how you thought about yourself originally, it's probably not how it is, you know? And yeah, I've been reassured so many times, like, no, you sound so this, you're not this, or you're actually good at this. But I'm thinking in my head, like, I know these people thought I was crazy, you know?
Yeah. I would love to like say that all my experiences were like that and people would just embrace me for the individual that I was. But I did, like, although I had an amazing first year at Western, there was many times where it wasn't as, amazing. On my floor specifically, there was like these group of individuals, white men or males, on my floor who kind of always questioned my intelligence, which was extremely rude. It'd be like we all were business students, so we'd all have the same like exams or midterms, and like we'd all come back and they would be talking about it, and like they would directly ask me what my result was, or they would ask me, what did you get on this midterm? But I didn't hear them ask anyone else on the floor. And to be noted, I was the only black girl or black person on my floor. So I found that very attacking, that all the time they would ask or talk behind my back, questioning my intelligence, because I wasn't a person who liked to share my grades. I like to keep my successes personal. I like to keep my failures personal. That's just something for me to deal with. But they always wanted to find the opportunities to downplay my intelligence, because if I scored like an amazing exam, they want to know so badly, so they think of me as some sort of competition. Or if I didn't share, they'd automatically assume I failed. And it's like, it sucks for people to place race and intelligence on the same spectrum, and that's something that Western's been dealing with for so long, and it's definitely still apparent here.
Yeah, that's extremely frustrating. I definitely I don't have a similar experience to the same degree, but it all kind of goes in the idea of feeling or being ostracized. I know on my floor, I lived in O Hall first year. So everyone in my suite was a black woman. So,
yeah. Must be nice.
It was nice. We also chose each other. That was not
No.
Yeah, it would have been slightly problematic if we were all put together without choosing each other. Anyways, I digress. But I kind of always felt like on my floor, people would sort of do things, or they would definitely be a lot closer with each other. And we were sort of like, we kind of would be almost forced to just talk to each other. And I think that is, I don't know, you could just say it's cultures clashing per se, but I don't think so. But it's like what you were saying, Giselle, with your sort of experience, it's the very little, like, it's not little, the microaggressions and the little things that people say that show their true colors. And they might even realize that it is racially charged, but it definitely is.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. But even though we're talking about all these experiences, like, that may seem like a negative thing, it's definitely still better to meet people, because people, especially after this summer with everything with the Black Lives Matter movement and trying to educate themselves, people are definitely trying, and they're trying to sort of eliminate those like microaggressions or those little racial biases, or even any other sort of like like targeting of minority groups. They're trying to sort of reverse that. So definitely getting to know people is like a great way to sort of better your experience on campus. And I also I wanted to get into some sort of and any advice that we might have for students, or specifically first year students coming to campus. I know we sort of talked about our own experiences, but I would say some things that I would recommend for first year students is to get involved. Seriously, getting involved with clubs, councils, and everything. Going to events is one of the best decisions I have ever made, is because you meet so many people. You build communities that you won't even get to realize. You'll meet some of your best friends through these things. And even though sometimes you're thinking like, oh, I'm here for school. University is a social experience. You are getting only half of it if you just focus on school. Yeah. So I would really, really recommend getting involved, especially being online this year, getting involved, going to those Zoom meetings, even though they might seem like a waste of time. You're not missing out on anything. It's only adding to your experience.
Exactly. And just to echo what you said, getting involved is so important. Some of my best friends, like, I would not have met them if I didn't get involved in clubs. And keeping an open mind and doing things that are out of your comfort zone. I feel like I'm not like a shy person, but when it comes to like doing like a talent of some sort, so like singing or dancing or even walking, I get shy. I get so shy. But I really push myself to like do like in first year I did ASA dance. I joined the dance team in first year for the African Student Association, and that was so scary. Like, I actually love dancing, but that was so scary for me, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna do it. I kept my head down the whole time, not gonna lie, on stage, but I still did it, and I really broke that barrier in myself. So the next year, I auditioned for the Kaiser fashion show, and that was a whole different experience. That's big, like 10,000 people kind of thing, and that was really nerve-wracking, but putting yourself out there, doing things that are out of your comfort zone. You want to develop a skill. Like, I joined ASL, which is American Sign Language. Like, I joined that this year, doing things that you're actually interested in. And I think also, too, obviously, cultural clubs are a really good way to also find who you are. For me, I talked about it earlier, but I kind of felt like I wasn't your typical, quote-unquote, Black person. Like, I wasn't normal, right? I thought I was too white-sounding, or because I grew up in the middle of the prairies, I was not, like, a Toronto girl. I really thought that. But joining BSA really made me, again, we saw like the different types of Black people. We're not all a monolith. And I feel, it was just a really great way. So getting involved in clubs and keeping an open mind, I think it's super important.
I love that point that you touched on, like getting involved in things that you're interested in. Despite, yes, I am a Black woman, and that is a big part of my identity, but I also like business, and I also like sociology, and I also like, just the most random interests, and run with those things as well. As much as I enjoyed BSA, I also enjoy meeting people who have those diverse, really like niche interests that you have. Because you do meet really close people through that, and it's like that's one part of like taking up space in Western that you would want to, because of course BSA is always there for you, and like ASA and CSO, we're a cultural community and we're always going to have each other's back on campus, but we shouldn't have to feel like that's the only community we belong to.
For sure.
You can join any club on campus that you feel like political, socio, like all these different clubs. Take up that space. Go and if you're really interested in anime, go join the anime club. Like, that's what I'm trying to say. Don't feel like you're ostracized to just be in a cultural club, because there's so many ways you can meet different people on campus.
Like, for example, I'm a Black woman, and I was a part of the Vegan Society. I was the Vegan Society's first year rep. Not like they contradict each other, but it's definitely not like they contradict each other, but it's definitely a niche interest that some people would. I remember being slightly embarrassed about it, but definitely like that's how you find your people. That's how you find people that you wouldn't have met any other way. Definitely join clubs that in whatever you're interested in. But that just made me want to reflect on, like I said before, is like you might sort of feel guilt because you're joining clubs, you're going to events, but you're maybe slacking a little bit in your schoolwork. Definitely focus on schoolwork, but being like wellness overall, like you need to be social.
Mm-hmm.
You need to prioritize your mental health. You can't just be doing school all day. You need to do things that you enjoy. So I think that's really important. Now I just have a few things that people may want to do to sort of help make Western a sort of like welcoming environment for everyone, or what allies could do. So I have a few points written down here. I said, raise your voice for any injustices that you see on campus. Although we would like to say that Western's definitely getting better, there's still definitely tons of forms of racist incidents that have happened on campus. I can think of a few that I've heard about that are very, very upsetting. So you need to talk about these things if you ever see them. You need to report them. And remember that for people of color, like, racism is a form of trauma. It is not something to be taken lightly, and it shouldn't be normalized. I said spread awareness. This could be even sharing stuff on social media, even like sharing like say, for example, like for BSA we had our AGM, like sharing that on your story so people can see it, or like sort of reflections, like spaces that people would enjoy. Or like even ESS, they post a lot of good stuff about like a lot of advocacy stuff. Reposting that on your story, because there's definitely someone or people on your social media that would highly, highly benefit from it. I said don't intrude in communities. I'm not saying please don't show up to certain cultural events. Please do. But just remember, when you're in a certain cultural space, you have to be respectful of that. So I'm just saying don't project on it. But I don't think anyone really would who's ever if you're listening to this podcast, you are you're already taking that conscious step to bettering yourself. I said get involved. I've been talking about getting involved as well. Yeah, and like we said, it doesn't have to be an ethnic club. It can be a social club. For example, I joined SSSC. Great opportunity, great experience. I love the people here. I also said get involved with things. Speaking up about things that may interest you. Like, even though SSSC isn't by far not an ethnic club, but even though they do tons of advocacy, me speaking up about wanting to do something about like race, or talking about race and wellness, like if I didn't speak up and I didn't talk to my VP, if you're listening to this, I love you. This podcast wouldn't be happening right now. So definitely speak up in your sort of clubs and associations or whatever like community that you're in. Talk about your interests, because if you don't, things will never happen. Things will never come to fruition. Like, this would never happen if I didn't talk about it. So don't be scared to put your opinion in. Don't be scared to put in your input. Let your voice be heard. And if you guys want to say anything else.
Yeah, I think the one thing was sharing stuff on your social media. I feel like with what happened this past summer, what we saw with the Black Lives Matter movement and just so many things being brought to light, I saw a lot of people sharing on their story, which is great. I love that people are taking the time to read. But there's one thing I think it's good to share, it's good to say all these things, but if your words don't match your actions, it's all for nothing, right? So you can be sharing, like, don't be racist, don't be rude, but you're going home and you're listening to your, friend or family member call Black people a derogatory term. So making sure, like, if you're seeing this stuff in your close circles, I hope you're speaking, because I cannot be seeing you're putting hashtag BLM in your bio, but you're the same person, you know.
Practice what you preach.
Yeah, exactly. It's so important. It shows that you're actually an ally. And we talk so much about, like, allyship. Like, every day I'm seeing you post allyship, this, that. You're not being an ally if you're not doing anything. So that's so important, making sure your words match your actions. I think it's the biggest thing for me.
One point I want to touch on is to always check your privilege. And in so many situations that I met with people, ignorance is such a bliss, because you may come from a small town, North Ontario, where you don't know other Black people. That doesn't mean that racism doesn't exist.
Period.
You know? It's important for you to realize that your specific experiences create this illusion to yours, and that you need to educate yourself on, because every experience is so different. Even for myself, I live in Canada. I am always educating myself on colorism in the Caribbean. There's so many different ways you can continue to educate yourself. Ignorance is not an excuse anymore.
It's not
in 2020. I don't want to hear that, because where I'm from, no, that's not an excuse ever. There's so much on the internet, and you have so many resources at your hand, and so many clubs are always resharing like different information that you just can't use that excuse anymore. And I think that's a big point to touch on.
I completely agree. And kind of just going into another thing, but I'm also going to add on to what you said, Giselle. Sort of like what routines or activities have you sort of acquired to like promote wellness in your everyday life, or would you recommend? During the summer, with everything that happened with the BLM movement and overall, I actually joined this sort of book club where we would discuss like current world issues in the world. Specifically, we were starting to talk about BLM. And I think it's really important to have sort of hard discussions with people or people that may be harvesting sort of like microaggressions. Like, for example, like I talked to like sort of my older peers or relatives about certain hard topics that, yes, they're very hard to hear, and like it's very hard to have sort of discussions, and definitely don't have them too often. Like prioritize your mental health and your well-being. But if the opportunity arises itself and you're comfortable, definitely speak out, because even if people may disagree with you right now, sort of like planting a seed or opening their eyes to a certain idea that, maybe like a few years ago they would never have thought about that, or they would have never accepted that, is important. And I also want to stress things that you should always have stuff for yourself. Like, you always need to have me time. Because although we're in school, although we're in like university, we're very busy people. We're involved with so many different like organizations and stuff like that. You still need to prioritize yourself. Overextending yourself isn't cute. It's not fun. I've been there, done that.
We're tired.
You're gonna burn out. So if you guys have anything else you want to add to that?
I think I want to just touch on what you said. I think a lot of the times we as Black people, we as people of color, tend to become like therapists for or like advocates. Like, why are we doing the most? Like, this is like you mentioned, racism is a form of trauma, and we're the ones experiencing that trauma. So we shouldn't be the ones having to educate other people all the time, or being the ones to spread the word all the time, taking the time for ourselves, because like we have lives outside of talking about people who are racist to us. We have lives outside of all this stuff. So for me, like, did I have time to do anything really? But I took up running in the summer, and I'm like taking that pretty seriously now. So definitely just having time for yourself, me time, time to relax, and talk to your friends about things other than like there's such big topics. Like, it's good to have those conversations, but it's not every day. Like, it's really not. So
No, I think that it's important that we don't feel like we have to be activists every single hour, day, second of our lives. It's exhausting.
Unrealistic.
And to allies, your fellow Black friends are not your resources. You don't have to exploit them to learn.
Exactly.
Like, you don't have to ask me, how's racism at Western for you to educate yourself. You can go on and find the resources. Black people are tired
Google's free.
of trying to spare their trauma just for you to learn. It's exhausting. And that was a big thing for me during like the Black Lives Matter movement. I felt like every second I was trying to educate someone.
How can I help you?
And people were messaging me, and they were like, can you explain to me the Black Lives Matter movement? Or like, can you tell me about racism?
It shouldn't be our job.
Like,
can you use your computer?
Literally.
Resources are weird.
And I felt obligated, but that is not the case. To anyone listening to this right now, it is not. You don't have to feel obligated to do any of that. Of course, if you want to take the time to speak to your friend about something, for sure, do that, but don't ever feel obligated. You can always refer them to Google. You can refer them to any other resource. You don't have to spare your trauma in like for their education. One
of my really good friends, she's a great ally, but I remember at the start of the summer when everything was kind of kicking off with the BLM movement, you know, people were actually like, oh, there's actually racism still, you know, people were seeing that. She was like on her story, she's like, here's some great activists I have put out, tagged. And why is this girl tagging me? Like, I think I'm the only Black person she actually knows. She's no. But I got a lot of clout. I got a lot of followers. So, you know, but at the same time, it's tiring. It's a lot. So yeah, I really like what you said, Giselle, about we're not we're not resources for you. Like, I love that you're trying to learn, but there is Google. There are other resources other than your Black friends. You know. It's common sense too. Like, yeah, it really is. Like, it's not hard. Just don't be racist. That's it. Oh my days.
Yes, no, 100%. Please don't put the burden on your friends that are just like your non-white friends to talk to you about racism, activism. Like, we have lives. Come on. But yeah, I just wanted to end it off on any advice that you'd have for students on things that you do or things that you would recommend to promote wellness and specifically for racialized students. And yeah.
So you can go first.
I get asked this question so much. So I'm just trying to think to like first year Giselle and I
can go first. Don't worry about it. I would say the first thing that sort of eased my nerves about not even coming to Western, like even being on Western, is having like a community, like to people to go to. I would say like the biggest one is to join group chats. Because I know when I was first coming to Western, I was in like sort of like a Black student group chat of people coming to Western that were Black, and eased my nerves completely. That's how I ended up finding my roommates from first year, and I had that sort of like community. But even just doesn't have to just it extends beyond just Black people at Western, race, like people who are in your classes, people who are in the sort of associations you in, programs, exactly. Like having these sort of connections is so vital. Yeah. And also it's a great way to make friends. Not everything is so serious. Not everything is school. Not everything is what did you do for this? What sort of answer did you get? Just talk to people. Like just anything that's on your mind. Friends, especially with stuff being online this year. My group chats, I don't know about you guys, but my like class group chats have been blowing up because people are just talking. People just want to socialize. It's getting a sense of normalcy again. So I would definitely recommend that. Also, even though those group chats, I'm talking about how vital they are, you can turn the notifications off, especially for the ones that are school related, because you cannot be working 24/7. Even though it's the line between you time, like self-care time to relax, like eating, sort of just chilling time in school is so blurred. Because like I can be sitting down having my break of the day between lectures, but then my phone is blowing up with stuff, people talking about quizzes and stuff like that. So I would recommend always checking them, always being active, but making sure that you are doing okay, like yourself, your well-being, your mental state. You're not overextending yourself, because I think it's so important to have me time to be overall well-rounded, because that's really what wellness is to a sense of just like good well-being.
Okay, I can answer that. So yeah, the group chats are a really good idea. And a little plug for BSA, if you're a first year Black Frosh, we have a Frosh group chat on Facebook. It's just called Class of 2023, I believe.
2024.
2024.
Oh my gosh.
No,
it's okay. It's okay.
So 2024, definitely find that on Facebook. But for those who haven't met their people yet, what I would recommend is just, we can join group chats, all that, but make sure you're being yourself always. Don't ever fake who you are, because your people will come. Okay, they might not come as soon as you thought or as quick as what you're seeing other people going through, what you're seeing for other people, but they will come eventually. And if you're fronting, if you're putting on this persona that's not you, trying to find those people, you're going to get lost in, like, you're going to get lost in that sauce. That's not yours, right? So, like, making sure you stay true to yourself because your people will come eventually. They will. So, yeah.
I love that fact. And it's true. You might not meet your people right away. I definitely didn't really find a big community or big support network in my first semester of first year. It took me up until like second semester and even into second year and still trying to build my support system. Which is totally fine. Don't feel pressure. And I know online school is making it even harder to branch out and have a bigger support network, but it's also important. I found helpful to myself to reach back to my friends back home, and they give me such a sense of security. I'm really close with just a handful of people back home. That's totally fine. It's so overwhelming to come to a new environment and try to make these friendships really fast. But if you think back to some of your best friendships, they took time. Like some of mine took all of high school. Some of them are from elementary school. I still have friends. So give yourself time. Give yourself an opportunity. Everyone's kind of nervous to make friends. It's normal. We're all kind of in the same boat. And once you kind of get over that fact that you might not have this amazing friendship lifelong right away, it'll happen.
It will.
You'll be surprised. There's so many people on campus. I guarantee there's one person that you can count on that's going to be there for you, and I think that's important to remember that.
Yeah. And your groups are always changing throughout the years as well. Just because you're friends with your entire floor first week, girl, they're not gonna
they're
most likely you're probably not gonna talk to them by the end of the year. Things are always changing, so don't stress too much about these things. And I know it's so much easier said than done, but trust us, we've all been there. We've seen it. It's okay, and you are gonna be sad. You're gonna be sad, you will, but things always get better. I'm a firm believer in that. Things will always turn out for the best, so they will. And don't even worry about maybe not finding that click yet. You will eventually find them.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Definitely also making sure, especially because we're going to all be home and with school being online, we're kind of cooped up all the time. Reaching out to people in general is very important. And definitely seeking any mental health services if you need them. And checking up on your friends as well when you have the time is very important. I think that's everything. I really want to thank Angie. Yeah, I know this was really fun. It was really fun. Yeah, this was really amazing. Thank you so much, Angie and Giselle, for joining me. I really enjoyed this discussion. I'm gonna plug BSA Western's BSA. Obviously, I was gonna say the Instagram handle.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. You can talk if you want. No, you can talk.
It's at BSA Western on Instagram, and our Facebook page is UWO Black Students Association. So yeah, that's it.
Yes, and at SSSC Western is our Instagram, I'm pretty sure, and all of our social medias. And if you're listening to this, you're obviously on our Spotify. Definitely check out our other playlists as well. My events team. Well, not my events team. People I work with in the events team have been working very, very hard on it. And definitely check out everything that's coming up throughout the year. Even though we're online, we're definitely still trying to have a whole bunch of events for you and just stay up to date with social science in general.
Yeah.
And thank you so much. This was really fun. And bye guys.
Bye.